Thank you for joining me for this last segment of today's show and jumping straight into it. A coin toss. Talking about this was pretty odd to just look at how this all broke down. To give more context and just tell you guys what the heck I'm talking about, Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Raiders had a lot of areas obviously to address in the NFL draft. Defensive back, O line, linebacker, running back, quarterback. Obviously, they got the short end of the stick in the quarterback roulette that was going on in the first round. Tight end wasn't really the major area of emphasis, at least that I would have pointed to, but they ended up drafting Brock Bowers because best player available. I thought he was going to go in the top 10 to be there at 13. It seemed like a no-brainer, so at the time, I didn't hate it. I actually liked the draft pick, but Terrion Arnold on the other end of the stick, I thought this was the range where he was supposed to go. He goes in the mid 20s, which is an absolute steal to the Detroit Lions. And there was more behind the story, obviously, according to Terrion Arnold. He had to wait until, like I mentioned there, pick number 28 to be selected. And he revealed in a recent interview that he actually got a call from the Las Vegas Raiders afterwards, and he didn't say specifically who, but I think he said a coach, and this is what he had to say on that. He said, "The Lions knew that the Raiders were a possibility, and actually, the Raiders coach, they called me after the draft, and they were like, we actually had a coin toss between you and Brock Bowers. It landed on him, and I was like, oh wow, that is just the, in layman's terms, the simplest reaction to that. First, for Terrion Arnold to just say, oh wow, that you guys didn't pick me because of a coin toss, that is just one of the tamest reactions I probably would have had, to know that a team could have drafted me earlier, but they decided on a coin toss to draft the other guy instead of me. If you remember, the Las Vegas Raiders general manager Tom Telesco claimed that drafting Brock Bowers was evaluated as a consensus decision. He was the consensus guy that they wanted to draft. And also, after all of this was said, after all of this, went out into the public, the Las Vegas Raiders assistant general manager Champ Kelly also kind of held off on these accusations, I guess, from Terrion Arnold, and he said, yeah, I can't confirm that at all. Terrion is a good player. I'm excited to watch his career and watch him play. But also, he said that, and he really didn't say no. He simply said that, he can't confirm it. That's not a real no to me. How hard could it have been to say, yeah, that never happened? Really a coin toss? We're not going to decide on who we're drafting on a coin toss. He could have easily said that, but instead he said that he can't confirm it. So it does leave the door open there a little bit for me. Recently, today, I want to say, or yesterday on Thursday, head coach Antonio Pierce said via ESPN that, one, that coin toss never happened. Again, similarly to Tom Telesco, he said that Brock Bowers was the guy that everybody agreed on. And he even went as far to say that the phone call never happened between him and Terrion Arnold. Now, that's not also to say that it couldn't have happened with another coach. You don't want to. I don't want to sit up here and call Terrion Arnold a liar. There's two sides of this story. Antonio Pierce says that the call never happened, at least with him. So it still could have happened. But I'm also not totally ignorant to the fact that this is this could just be simply a figure of speech, a coin toss. That decision was a coin toss, just as a figure of speech. He could have meant it not as literal as it sounds, but I want to believe this. At the end of the day, nobody ever really knows what happens behind the scenes in these draft rooms. You don't want to believe that some of these major decisions, of course, we have to wait to see how both Brock Bowers and Terrion Arnold's careers kind of play out. That's a long time away, but a lot of people just don't want to think that these decisions come to some of these methods that these teams resort to. Nobody knows what goes on back there, the kind of conversations, the kind of decisions that these guys have to make why not could it not be a coin toss? I don't think that's impossible to think. It doesn't have to be the final yes or no, but you flip a coin, and if it lands heads on Brock Bowers, tails on Terrion Arnold, sometimes people just can't come to a decision, and they resort to some of these methods. I certainly have done it. I'm not making draft picks, but I just think it's a little bit in human nature. Some people just can't make a decision, so they have to resort to some of these things. But now, in all seriousness, really this whole story, this whole idea of a coin toss and how tight this decision might have been for the Las Vegas Raiders, it makes you think, did they make the right decision? Obviously, you can't make that right now. Let's wait until, August to at least start talking about this. But really, you have to see how it all plays out, how these guys' careers play out. I like both players. In the moment that they both were selected, I thought I was really left impressed by the Raiders taking a mini gamble on Brock Bowers, adding him to Michael Mayer, who they drafted pretty early last year in the draft. I want to say second round. And then you add him to Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers. You don't have a quarterback, but they seem content with going into the quarterback the season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. With the sort of talent that they have, it's not the worst idea. It's definitely not ideal, but adding the talent that is Brock Bowers, I think that's really not going to be looked upon as a bad decision in the moment. And Terrion Arnold as well. I really like the Lions trading up a few spots to go and get him and addressing their biggest need. So right now, I'm really a fan of both of them. It's not like I hated either pick, but how their careers play out, if Terrion Arnold goes on to be an all-pro, multiple Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winner, you can look back on this and think, wow, like the Raiders could have drafted him way earlier than he did, and instead they chose Brock Bowers. And if Brock Bowers goes on to have a great career, I don't think the Las Vegas Raiders fans will be too upset by this. And so it's just really a wait and see sort of game right now. Overall, I think both picks were great. Good for the Lions to wait and take that risk and sort of wait for their top rated guy on their draft board to fall to them miraculously at 24. They got a good deal out of it. Brock Bowers also is a great player for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm excited to see both of them play. I think they can bring a lot to both of these teams. Excitement, addressing a need for both of them. The Raiders needed some more splash, some more flashy players that could bring more people in to watch them play. Complement whoever they have at quarterback. Brock Bowers can certainly do that with Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, their offensive line that's gotten better. Now, how it all plays out, we have to see. And also the Lions benefited by adding Terrion Arnold, addressing and solidifying their defense, because last year it was pretty good, and now you bring in a guy like Terrion Arnold. I think it's going to take it to that next level. Both of them have different expectations going into this season, but overall, I think it'll be a positive for both of these teams. I like both of the players. I like both of the picks. That's my feeling on it, but man, a coin toss, I wouldn't be surprised if later, 10 years, 8 years from now, it turns out that this could have been more true than a lot of people want to think right now, but who knows and how that'll all play out. And in saying that, that'll be the last thing we talk about on this show and for the week. I want to thank you guys for joining me on today's episode of the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the show and to the channel as well. And also following all the social medias out there from Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok for more of the network's content. If you want to see more of me and this show, check out the GSMC Sports Network channel and the GSMC Podcast Network channel on YouTube for YouTube Shorts that I post weekdays, as well as all the full live recorded shows that are all on both channels and individual recorded segment videos. If you don't have time to watch a whole live show, you can go on there and watch a specific segment. As a reminder, tune in every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more NFL and football conversations with me, your host, Manny Maradiaga. Thanking you guys once again for joining me. Hope you guys all have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys all back here again on Monday.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to